You guys, I was told that you guys are doing something this semester about solitude and time in solitude. It's so amazing because of that, because I'm actually in a season of solitude myself, where I have been just laying on my face before the Lord in my prayer closet. So I'll give you a little bit of how, when I say my prayer closet, it literally is a closet. My wife watched, what's that movie with the woman that, there you go, War Room, that prayer movie. And she watched that movie like she had never seen it before, went upstairs, took half her clothes out of her closet, moved them somewhere else, put up scriptures and said, I've created a prayer closet, and I got terrified. Okay? I don't know about you, but if you get married and a woman takes her clothes out of her closet to begin to pray, be very, very afraid and excited and spiritual and all that at the same time, but just know something serious is going on. So my prayer closet is actually a prayer closet, and I don't go to her corner. I go in my corner where all the clothes got piled up. It's true. And I lay down and I get on my face and I spend that time every morning with God. I spend that time every morning with God. And there's been some great revelations that have come out of that. And I want to encourage you to spend time with the Lord in solitude, because there is something about being with God that God begins to speak with you in a way that no other time in your life will ever happen. Now, I want to challenge you because, one, I know you're all college students, college professors, and college adjacent. And so if that's you, you don't have time to do that, because you have classes you got to study for and you got everything else. But I promise you that if you don't make time now, you'll never find time when you get older. Because life gets more busy when you leave college than when you're at college. Okay? And so spend this time in time with the Lord. And so with that being said, I looked in the scriptures and I found an account of Jesus being in solitude. Matthew chapter 26 and verse 36. I'm going to start there, and I'll read from the New King James because my pastor made me use King James, and so the only place I could go up was New King James. Maybe in 10 years I'll get to NIV. All right. It says, oh, someone knows what I'm talking about. Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane and said to the disciples, sit here while I go and pray over there. This interesting thing to me in this text is that when Jesus gets time that he's about to head to the cross. So if you don't know, maybe you were living under a Jessup rock and you don't know scriptures, but if you do know scripture, Jesus is in Matthew. He's getting ready to end his life. He's finished the Lord's Supper, and now he's heading to the cross, to crucifixion, to trial, to tribulation. He's heading to this spot. And as Jesus is heading to this spot, what he does is he gets in solitude. Now, the interesting thing to me is that every time my pastors taught me about solitude, it was always preparing me to have a great day. I spend time with the Lord, and then I have a great day. I have a momentous day. I'm praying, and God reveals to me my winning lotto numbers. I pray, and God reveals to me how to talk to that girl that I've been trying to talk to for so long that never wanted to date me before. When I pray, God gives me revelation of the ministry that I'm going to do that's going to change the world. When I pray, God's going to tell me what professors not to take for the level of homework that they give. When I pray, God's going to make my car start because I don't have enough money to really get it fixed. And every morning I pray, and God's just going to give me, and it's just going to be this genie in a bottle, this wish-making thing that solitude with God is going to give me all the blessings of life. Not true. Not true at all. Here's the thing I see about Jesus. Jesus goes to pray in preparation for problems. When you go into prayer time, you should not be there asking God for all the wonderful things that he has for you only. You need to ask God to get you ready for the hell you're going to face in the middle of that next day. Because people in this life, everything is not roses. Everything is not great. Everything is not perfect. My wife and I, we've been in prayer, and one of the things that we prayed about is we prayed this prayer. Lord, prepare us for what's to come. Prepare us for what's to come. And I was like, okay, and in my mind, I'm thinking the great things. We have a new ministry. God's going to bless us. We're going to have favor. We're going to get all these wonderful things. And you know what the next season was for me that I'm in now? my 20-year-old daughter, who was running track at Sac City 2 years ago, just came home from the hospital on a walker. I wasn't prepared for that kind of prayer. But the thing I found out is time with God has been able to give me strength that I can come up here and crack bad dad jokes for you and still have a smile on my face that's not fake because I spent time on my face before God. Spending time on your face before God, spending solitary time with the Father will prepare you for the trials and tribulations of life. Wow, this is an uplifting message. I'm sure you guys will ask me back. All right, here we go. He says, sit here while I go pray a while. Then he took with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, and he began to be sorrowful and deeply distressed. Let me give you this. When you begin to seek solitude with the Lord, he will separate you from people who are not true friends. He will separate you from people who are not there for you. I saw the young lady, she was on the screen and she talked about, man, it was so great. There was like 40 people, but she asked for a small Christian community and it's fantastic. But I will tell you that when you go through the struggles of life, that everybody can't go with you through your struggles. Everybody can't travel with you through your pain. And if you've been through any pain, and I do not discount your age as not understanding pain, if you've been through any pain, it will show you who your true friends really are. You will see people that are like, my God, I won't forget, there was a season in my life that I was going through a huge just problems and issues. As I was going through those problems, there were some people that were my friends, and all they ever wanted to do was say, hey, we're here for you. And I would call it like, man, I really need you, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, oh, man, if you had just called like yesterday. Right now, or right now in like 20 minutes right now. And I realized that those people could not travel with me in my solitude circumstances because they had no fortitude in their faith. And so you will find out that sometimes you have to separate from people. But here is the thing. As he continues to do that, he takes Peter, James, and John. Those are the sons of Zebedee. Then verse 38 says, then he said to them, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Stay here with me and watch. Verse 39, it says, then he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, which is why I do falling on my face, saying, oh, Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, as I will, but your will is what he wants. It is so interesting that when Jesus is on his face in the middle of a hard circumstance, the solitude that he begins to work on is not escape, but perseverance. He does not escape. He prays for escape. He says, Lord, if you could possibly take this crucifixion and put it on somebody else, anywhere else, I would greatly appreciate that. But nevertheless, not my will, but your will be done. And so he prays that. Then he comes to the disciples, and what does he find? Sleeping. They're asleep. So wait, you mean you separated from the group? You got your three boys. You got your like my mom would say, your aces. I don't know why aces. Does anybody play cards? Tell me why aces is the thing. Okay, never mind. You got your aces with you, and when you have your aces, they fell asleep. You ask them to pray with you, to support you, and they let you down. And it's interesting to see how the conflict in the text where you've got people who are supposed to be praying with you sleeping while you're suffering. Jesus is in agony and they are sleeping. And it's interesting that they mention Peter. Because what always captures me about this text is when you talk about Peter, he tells like Peter, upon this rock I will build my church. Peter is traditionally known as the first pastor of the Jerusalem church. He's even in Catholicism, he's the first pope. The basilica is named Peter's Basilica. It's beautiful, by the way. If you've never been there, you should go. It's fantastic. And he's this momentous person, and he's asleep. It's amazing how at times that you need people the most, the church is asleep. The church is asleep. It's a dormant beast that is there with all kinds of power, but yet it sleeps on you. How many times have you tried to call people and say, pray with me, and you're like, oh, I forgot, oh, I got distracted, and they're asleep. But here's the great part. While the church is sleeping, Jesus in solitude is suffering, but the Father is still speaking. When you are in solitude, you don't have to depend on anybody else. That's the nature of solitude, right? For me, I have to study alone. I have to literally study alone. I cannot study with someone else because I am an extroverted, outgoing, talkative, disruptive individual, okay? I love to chit-chat. If I'm in a room, in fact, the sad part from my church is they always say, well, Pastor, when are you going to be in the office? And I say, when I need to be. And they look at me really sideways because they're used to having the pastor in the office all the time. And I was like, well, I can go in the office, but I'm not going to get any work done. And they looked at me really strange. They said, why are you not getting work done? I said, because it's people here. And they were like, what do you mean it's people here? That's why you should be getting work done. I said, no, that's why I'm not going to get work done, because I love to talk to people, and I'm the person who's going to have a conversation with everybody in the office, regardless of what work needs to be done. So if you want me to get work done, you need to let me be at home in my office at my desk where no one's at, and I can then do that, and hopefully Facebook or Instagram or Snapchat won't capture my attention, and I'll be able to get my work done. But I'm a person who needs to be in solitude because I like to talk to people. In fact, I was so bad at being in solitude that I went to Christian school all my life. I thought I would get away from it in college, but then I went to Epic Bible College, which I know is your rival school. I'm joking. We're too small. We don't even fit in this corner of the room. But I went to Epic, and so I literally went to chapel from kindergarten to graduate school. Chapel all the way through. I thought I would escape, but then God brought me back. And I am the person who was in class, and I remember we were in school, and they sat me next to this young lady. Her name was Kim. I was in the 7th grade. I will never forget. I was in the 7th grade, and I sat next to Kim. Kim was the quietest person in the entire school. I think in my entire life, I can remember Kim saying 5 words. 5 words all throughout elementary school. And the teacher, I was a disruptive force in the class. Me? No. I was disruptive. And Kim was so quiet. And I would sit next to, and they said, okay. And my teacher told me, he said, I'm sitting you next to Kim so you won't have anyone to talk to. One, why did he talk about Kim like that? That was wrong. Kim is a person. I can talk to Kim, right? That was not right. But he says, I'm going to sit you next to Kim. She won't have anyone to talk to. And so I sit next to Kim, and I'm sitting there next to Kim, and I'll never forget, something happened one day, and I said some snarky little snide comment to Kim, and she laughed and spit soda out of her nose and mouth all over her desk. And the teacher goes, what's going on over there? And Kim does this. And the teacher was like, Karif, what am I going to do with you? What am I going to do with you? And I looked at the teacher and said, I don't know. Because I love to talk. But here's the thing. When I'm in solitude is when I can make deep connections with the Lord, and when my talking with God becomes productive for the problems of my life. You have to be able to speak and spend that time alone with God so you're not distracted. And you got to get away from people who will not be able to sit with you. Okay, so let's go to verse 4. It says, then he came to the disciples, found them sleeping, and said to Peter, what, could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray lest you enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. We all love this flesh is weak conversation, right? I don't know about you, but this verse justifies my sinful behavior. It does. Because anytime my wife says to me, honey, why didn't you wash the dishes? I say the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Right? And so I definitely had a thought that this scripture was my blanket justification as to why, I wanted to, but I couldn't. I wish I had that kind of quick wit when I was a child, but growing up in an African-American home, I probably would have died. My mom would have hit me with a shoe, a belt, a switch, a extension cord. That's abuse these days. Never mind. She didn't do that. But we talk about that scripture of the flesh being weak and how it works out. And Jesus was like, it was almost like he said, I know you want to be awake, but you can't. I called my mom this morning. I love my mom. I am an only child, which is why I love this, because I'm the center of everyone's attention. Look at me, right? And so I was the only grandchild too, so I was really like, give it to me. Okay. And so I had that propensity. And so as being an only child and as doing that, I love my mom. I talk to her every morning. I talked to my mom this morning. And when I talked to my mom this morning, I called her and my mom sounded like this. Hello. And I was like, ooh, you haven't even gotten out of bed. I don't know how I knew where she was placed at, but it just sounded like it through the phone. I said, you haven't got out of bed. She said like this, I know. I took some NyQuil last night. I said, Mother, what time did you take the NyQuil? You must have taken it like 2 a.m. She said, that's exactly when I took it. I said, NyQuil is is at least an 8 to 9 hour cold medicine, right? That's what NyQuil is. You can't take NyQuil and expect to function in like 5 to 6 hours. You got to take NyQuil while the sun is still up so that you can wake up when the sun comes back, okay? And my mother was like, yeah, I know. I was like, oh, God. Do I need to come see about you? And she wakes up and goes, yeah, I know, I understand. And here's the thing. She said, I tried to get up last night, and I almost couldn't get out of the bed. I said, they need to sell NyQuil with nighttime diapers, because you will go to the bathroom if you don't get rid of that NyQuil. You be in that bed like, I'm sleeping so good, I think I got up. And you be like, oh, Lord, I had an accident. Right? Too much? Okay, thanks. So you gotta do that. But why do I say that? Because of the fact that you gotta realize that her mind wanted to get up, but circumstances kept her away. And Jesus spoke to the fact that at times when you're dealing with spiritual matters or your own struggles, that your flesh will be the issue for what your spirit knows it must do. And so your flesh is weak, but your spirit is willing. And we know that because how many of us desire to have solitude and time with God, but yet my classes have gotten away. I desire to have time in solitude with God, but I got trapped on scrolling through, I'm old, Facebook. You guys only get on Facebook to talk with your grandparents, I understand. And so I'm scrolling through Instagram, I'm scrolling through TikTok. I wanted to do what God wanted me to do, but I'm tired. I wanted to engage in chapel, but I just woke up. I barely got to chapel on time. Don't you see I have my hood on my head because I didn't do my hair and it's all messed up, and I got sweatpants on, and I put my Crocs on because I'm too tired to be here, and I wanted to. I really did. I really did. But I couldn't because I'm tired. Your flesh will always be the obstacle to your private solitude time with God. It will always keep you that. But here's the thing. Only your time with God and your solitude will give you the rewards of being able to handle your oppositions, your obstacles, your issues, your problems, your circumstances, your celebrations, your hurts, your pains, your disappointments, your anxieties, your fears, your worries, your ups and your downs, your crushing seasons, your overexertion. Only your solitude time with God will be what will help you with that. And here's the thing. Jesus goes back, he prays again, and this is the prayer that I love. Again, the second time, he went away and prayed, "Oh, my Father, if this cup cannot pass away from me unless I drink it, your will be done." Jesus, in prayer and solitude, understood this fact, that there are seasons in your life that you cannot go around, you have to go through. You cannot always go around every circumstance, right? Like, I wish there was a shortcut way to a degree, but there's not. You got to go through the classes. You got to sit through the boring lectures. You got to come to chapel every time they tell you to. You got to drive up to school. You got to get dressed. You got to do the papers. You got to write them. You got to do the presentations. When you want time with God, you have to spend that same amount of time going through. That's why I love the 23rd Psalms. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. I have to go through the circumstances. And it's only in times of solitude that you begin to be resolute and strengthened enough to make your way into the solitary seasons of your life. So let me leave you with this little thought. As I was growing up as a kid, I was a very spoiled only child. I know I'm going to date myself, but I was a kid that had a TV in his room. I know that means nothing to you because you have TVs on your hands, but that wasn't a thing. I had a TV in my room. No other kids had TVs in the room. On that TV, I had an Atari 2600. No one knows what that is unless you're a serious gamer. I had an Atari 2600. It had a joystick. Do you guys even know what that is? It's one stick, and it had one button. That was the whole thing, okay? It had a joystick and a button. That was it. Pac-Man was pretty much it. And I had a Atari 2600, and I was so spoiled, and I lived that life, and I was just like, man, this is the greatest thing ever. I had bunk beds and was only one kid, and I got to pick where I sleep every night. What? I was balling. I was out of control. I sleep top bunk one night, bottom bunk last night, top bunk 2 nights, bottom bunk the last night. What? Shh. I was a very spoiled kid, and here's the thing. I also had a huge collection of Hot Wheel toys. Yeah, they're lost. My mom threw them away. She threw away my children's college fund. I told her. I had a large collection of Hot Wheel toys, and I had my toys. And I had some stepbrothers and sisters. And I found out as an adult, they didn't like me as a child. Go figure. Why? I'm a nice guy. And they would get my Hot Wheels, and they would steal them, or they would hide them from me in my own room. Because my mom and dad made me play with the Hot Wheels and made me share, not play with them, they made me share my Hot Wheels. And so they would play with the Hot Wheels, and I love my Hot Wheels. I even had, I don't know if you're familiar with this, the Dukes of Hazzard General Lee. I had that as a Hot Wheel. It was my prized possession. And I would jump it off the bed from the top bunk to the bottom bunk. And I loved my Hot Wheels, and my little cars were everything. And I was so excited to have my cars. And as I had my cars, this is the thing that came up, is that I loved my cars, and I had all this time. And the most enjoyable time I had was when me and my cars were alone. I could set up little things, and I could do this. And here's the thing. Whenever they left and cars were missing, I'd always look in my case, because they were all put in the case and color coordinated. I'd look in my case, and I would see that the cars were missing. And I would look around my room, and I would try to find them. And I would try to say, where are they at, where are they at? And while they were there, it was chaos, and I could never find them. But once they left, I would search through my room, I would look in places, I'd look under blankets, and I would find the cars that were missing. And I was always so excited because I could put them back where they were. And here's the thing, having that time where I would find the cars was only there because I was by myself and I had no distractions. If you spend time with God by yourself with no distractions, you'll find the cars, the crisis, and the things that you need that you feel are lost will always come to you. God bless you. Thank you so much.